My new album is called The Blackest Crow, and I was actually scouted for this one, I think. Somebody reached out to me from Chesky Records and asked if I wanted to make a live album all in one day, and that sounded like a challenge that I wanted to take on. So I said yes, and then the task was to find the songs. I chose these songs because I have always wanted to do an album that spans over time and spans genres. It's been an idea that I've had since I was maybe like 13 or 14 years old, because I realized that between my grandmother, who was born in 1906, my dad, born in 1942, mom, born in 1953, older brother and sister who were born in the late 70s, mid 70s, I have so many musical influences that I want to use all of them. So there's something from every decade in the last 100 years or more that I really love. And doing a cover album sounded like a lot of fun for this project. So I studied up and asked my closest friends and family and all of the music lovers in my life for suggestions. And some of these are my favorite songs, and some of them just fit the theme. I've never recorded like this before. We brought 4 musicians and myself into this old cathedral in Brooklyn. So I had a cello player, acoustic guitar, upright bass, and percussion. And we recorded the entire album in, well, more than the entire album. I think in total there was 18 songs that we did in about 11 hours. It was a fun challenge. It was definitely different than anything I've done previous to this. And I think the best part about it was being thrown into a situation with these phenomenal musicians that I had just met a few days before, and having to bring a project to life on the fly. It wasn't easy, but it was fun because these musicians were so incredibly talented. I called the album Blackest Crow because that's the oldest song on the album. It was a folk song, like Civil War era. I don't know exactly the year, but the theme of the album is time. So I picked songs that reference time in some way, whether it's the past or forever or tomorrow, or some of the songs are just a still life. And that one being the oldest, the song starts with the line, "As time draws near, my dearest dear, when you and I must part." And I thought that would be a good place to start, being that most of the songs are love songs. They do talk about relationships, and I just thought that was the most impactful. I think it's probably one of my favorites of all of them, too. Another track that is my favorite is Helplessly Hoping, because when I first started working professionally, I had my album finished, ready to go. I think I had just signed a record deal with it, and somebody introduced me to Stephen Stills, and he's a very interesting man, very kind, and he'd heard tracks off of my first album, Record Day. He put his hand on my shoulder and said, "I'd wish you good luck, but I don't think you're gonna need it." And at 18 years old, being very nervous about career ahead and didn't know if it was gonna work out or not, and that was a wonderful atta girl. So singing Helplessly Hoping makes me think of him and think of that time, and the melody is just so gorgeous. I don't know if I have an answer for why time is so interesting to me, but it always has been. The hourglass has always been my logo because of the line, "Life's like an hourglass glued to the table," in my first single, Breathe. It might be that I feel like time is very fluid. I don't feel the past and the future as much as I feel like this constant through line, almost like instead of being linear, it's more like I feel it like a coil, so that at any point I can see where I am and then notice how that lines up through so many experiences in my life. Remind me to live in the moment and not get so distracted by that coil that I feel. So an album about time made sense to me to sort of capture the feeling of that connectivity between all parts of my entire life, even the life I haven't experienced yet, the things that I look forward to or I'm afraid of, or not afraid of, because I know that whatever happens, it'll work out just the way it's supposed to. All that said, I hope that when people listen to this album, it reminds them to live in the moment. You're all parts of who you were and who you will be, but now is the most important.
As time draws near, my dearest dear, when you